Hi, this is Rahul Tong, and I just want to share a quick case of CAIRS or CTAK using custom inlays from CorneaGen, with whom I have no financial interest. This was a young man with advanced keratoconus. His uncorrected and best spectacle corrected acuity was 20 over 800 in the left eye. His pentacam had a steepest keratometry of almost 90 diopters, and the cone was quite central. So we take this pentacam and we upload it to CorneaGen, which applies this custom nomogram developed by Peter Hirsch and Stephen Greenstein that more or less takes some of the guesswork out of the CAIRS procedure. And here, this nomogram is going to tell us the inner and outer diameter of where we should create our channels and put our segments, the thickness of the segment, and the arc length of that segment. It also gives you a few alternatives if you want to customize the amount of flattening. On the day of the procedure, we're going to mark the inner diameter of that ring segment offset to the pupil. And that's important because you want to center this on the cone rather than the center of the pupil. I'm going to use my intralace IFS to make, again, my intrastromal channels centered on that optical zone mark. And you can see here that it's a little bit superiorly decentered relative to the pupil center. So once that channel is made, I'm then going to go underneath my operating microscope. I'm going to use a LASIK dissector to open, and then a channel dissector to open that channel for the inlay. And I'm just going to wiggle that around because these segments can be a little bit wide. I did that first clockwise, and now I'm going to do the same thing here in the counterclockwise direction, just opening up a little space for myself. This is the inlay, which I'm going to prepare to implant. I had dehydrated a little bit to get a little more stiffness, but you may not need to do that. This tissue is fairly rigid. It is gamma irradiated, so it should be able to go without too much fuss. Again, this is one of my earliest cases, and I'm actually going to be using a 330-degree segment. So that was, quite a lot of tissue to advance through this channel, and it's seeming to go through without too much work. I'm now going to use this applanator, which is very useful to kind of round out this inlay. And these instruments are available from Katina or Corza, and I find that they're very useful. It's a little bit more streamlined than prior Intax instruments that I had available. So I'm going to use the applanator again to just round out that inlay. You can see it's quite wide, actually, relative to the standard tree-fined, double tree-fined CAIRS inlays that we had seen before. And I'm just going to use a reverse Sinski, actually, just to advance the tail end of that inlay. An alternative might have been to cut this very large arc length inlay into two pieces and then advance them in individually. But this being an early case, I didn't want to create any discontinuity in the inlay. And it seemed to go in just fine with a little bit of manipulation. This patient's under simple topical anesthesia and oral Valium, and he's tolerating the procedure very well. Relatively simple for him, and I'd say surgically, relative to the other work we do, not too complicated here. So I'm finally going to make sure that the position's quite right and just massage that inlay. And once it's fully massaged, you'll see that, again, it's centered on that cone, which was just superior to the visual axis. This is him at about 1 week out, and he is uncorrected 20 over 50, pinhole 2025, quite comfortable, and the inlays are healing and integrating quite nicely. The steepest keratometry is flattened to about 66, down from 90, and the shape is quite improved. We'll see how he heals, and I'll report back. Thank you.